Can a country's climate policy violate human rights? This question has been recently answered in a landmark decision by the European Court of Human Rights. In a world increasingly aware of the dire effects of climate change, this question is more relevant than ever. Just days ago, the court delivered a verdict that's causing ripples across continents. The case in question? Switzerland's climate policy, and a group of Swiss women who took their fight for a safer planet to court. Today we delve into the details of this fascinating and game-changing case. A group of Swiss women took their government to court, and the world watched as the drama unfolded. These women, ordinary citizens yet extraordinary activists, found themselves in the heart of a landmark legal battle. They were not lawyers or politicians, but they were passionate about their cause, to hold their government accountable for its part in the global climate crisis. Their fight began on their home front, in the serene landscapes of Switzerland. They observed the changing climate around them, the melting glaciers, the increasingly unpredictable weather patterns, and decided they could no longer sit idle. The catalyst for their decision? Their government's failure to meet its emissions targets. They accused Switzerland of not doing enough to combat climate change, a violation they believed infringed upon their human rights. As word of their legal action spread, it captured the attention of the international community. From climate activists like Greta Thunberg to human rights organizations, their fight for climate justice resonated with many. The world found itself in the midst of a new kind of war, where the battlefield was the courtroom, and the weapons were words, laws, and the undeniable evidence of a changing planet. The case against Switzerland was not just about one country's failure to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It was about holding governments accountable for their role in the climate crisis. It was about recognizing that failure to combat climate change is not just an environmental issue, but a human rights issue too. This case marked a turning point in the global conversation around climate change. It highlighted the intersection of climate change and human rights, setting the stage for a new kind of activism, one that uses the law as a tool for change. The world watched, waited, and then the verdict came. The European Court of Human Rights ruled in favor of the Swiss women, and the ruling was nothing short of revolutionary. The court didn't just side with the plaintiffs, it also held Switzerland accountable for its actions. The country was ordered to pay a hefty sum of 80,000 euros in legal costs. But the financial penalty wasn't the most significant part of the ruling. The landmark decision set a legal precedent that could change how we approach climate change globally. The court stated, in no uncertain terms, that member nations must protect their citizens from the consequences of climate change. This ruling could open the floodgates for future climate change lawsuits across the Council of Europe, and potentially, the world. Governments may now face legal consequences for not meeting emissions targets and failing to implement effective climate policies. But perhaps the most crucial aspect of this ruling is the connection it draws between climate change and human rights. The court underscored the idea that the health of our planet directly impacts our fundamental rights as humans. It's a potent reminder that climate change is not just an environmental issue, it's a human rights issue too. This verdict has been hailed as a victory by climate activists, including Greta Thunberg. It signifies an important step in holding governments accountable for their role in the climate crisis. With this ruling, the court has sent a message loud and clear. Governments must protect their citizens from the consequences of climate change. This landmark decision has left us with much to ponder. It's a case that intertwines the threads of climate change, human rights, and international law in fascinating and unprecedented ways. It raises questions about the obligations of governments to their citizens, the rights of individuals to a safe and stable climate, and the role of the courts in enforcing these rights. Do we agree with the ruling? Is it fair to hold a nation accountable for the adverse effects of climate change on its citizens? Or does this responsibility extend beyond national borders, implicating us all in a global effort to safeguard our planet? And what of the plaintiffs, a group of Swiss women who stood up against their government, demanding action and accountability in the face of an existential threat? Do their struggles resonate with us? Do we see ourselves in their fight for climate justice? These are not easy questions to answer, but they are vitally important ones to ask, especially as we face the escalating impacts of climate change. So, let's continue this conversation. Share your thoughts, your insights, your disagreements in the comments section. Let's engage with each other, learn from each other, and grow together in our understanding of these complex issues. As we grapple with the challenges of climate change, such legal battles remind us of our shared responsibility to protect our planet and each other.